Welcome back to Capital Conversations. I'm Marty Owings,
And I'm Andy Friedel.
and we're happy to be joined now by Politics in Minnesota Capital reporter Paul Demko, who pens for that highly esteemed and highly regarded. I guess they still produce a paper, right? The Ledger.
Yep, St. Paul Capital Report,
Yeah.
Legal Ledger and Capital Report, and then the website, and then
That's locked down.
yes, most of it is locked down. Some of it's free, and then we've got a weekly newsletter, and we've got all kinds of
Well,
different
Paul,
vehicles.
I mean, some of it is you pay for because it's expensive to cover politics.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping.
Right. Right. Well, no comment there. We're not going to get into the inner workings of the company, but
Well worth it. The reporting's excellent.
yes, absolutely. Check it out at politicsinminnesota.com.
All right, so we're thinking this is it. We're down to the final days here.
Well, I mean, I think you pretty much have to be. I mean, they constitutionally can go till May 21st, but I think they only have about 5 days worth of floor sessions left. So there's not a whole lot of time that they have to work with. So presumably we're approaching the end. I mean, everybody said for months and months and months that April 30th was the final day. That came and went, and here we are.
So the big thing, if we back up to the beginning, everybody talked about the bonding bill, and this is a bonding year. Legislation doesn't have to be, there's no budget stuff, but this is the year for bonding. So where do we sit with the bonding bill right now?
Well, I mean, there's three things out there, and depending on who you talk to, they're all separate, or they could all be part of a deal. So that's the taxes bill, which is going to be passed in the House and Senate today, and almost certainly vetoed by Dayton. There's bonding, and there's the stadium. What I've been hearing is that, and this maybe today's events change this dynamic, but that you probably couldn't get to the votes for a stadium bill without passing a bonding bill. Because like some of the DFL votes that would come along, they want to see some of their stuff in the bonding bill before they'd.
So those two may be tied together.
They could be.
Okay.
So now under the GOP proposal released today to pay for the entirety of the state share through bonding, they're certainly linked.
So can you give us some details on the taxes
Yeah.
bill? Because that's sort of a switcheroo, right? The Republican-led
Yeah.
legislature has the tax bill, and the DFL governor is going to veto it. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, it has a number. They've tried to make the bill more palatable to Dayton. All along, he said you can't have a bill that isn't paid for, and that's going to make the deficits worse in the out years, because we're already looking at a $1.3 billion deficit next biennium. So they've taken out their phase out of the business property tax, which was their big thing, but they are capping it. Basically, there's been an automatic inflator in the law, so that it went up by the amount of inflation, and they're capping that. And then they've got some increased angel investor tax credit money, some upfront capital investment money, and I think something that was a Dayton proposal, which was a tax credit for hiring of veterans. So they've come a long ways in eliminating some of the out-year costs, but I think there's still about, if I'm remembering correctly, I think it's still going to add, I think it's about $70 million to the deficit in the next biennium. So I think that's still a major concern for Dayton.
Are you on page 2, Andy?
No, I'm not.
Yeah, we're out to Demko here.
Okay.
What the heck's going on today with the Viking Stadium crap? What's up with that?
Yeah, I mean, it was
Did I say
really.
crap? Sorry about that.
It was a really strange day. I mean, in a couple ways. One, because Dayton and the DFL leaders kind of preemptively held a press conference
to
attack this plan that nobody really knew the details
Right.
of, and that they had kind of ferreted out that morning. So it was an odd sequence in that way, and that we were having a press conference attacking a proposal that most reporters didn't really know much about. So then you had the Republicans put together their own press conference about this plan, which
It was a retaliatory press conference for the preemptive press conference.
it looks that way to
With no
me.
details.
But the details, I mean, you heard Representative Morrow say the plan he's seen had $298 million
Yeah.
in bonding from the state. Representative Howes, the chairman of the Capital Investment Committee, I believe he told a reporter that it was $250 million. So it's somewhere in that area. But what's interesting and potentially problematic about it is we've been having this discussion for months.
Right.
There have been lead GOP authors in Senator Rosen, in Representative Lanning, and they've been working on this in conjunction with Democrats, in
Right.
conjunction
So what's
with
the
Governor
real
Dayton.
story, Paul? What's this? Is this a Dayton attack? What's the story?
Well, I think Representative Lanning and Representative Creasel, another big GOP stadium supporter, have said they have the votes in their caucus to pass the bill that everybody had been talking about. I think this probably suggests otherwise. If they have the votes, Democrats have said they have 34 votes. They've said bring it forward. If Republicans had 34 votes, I don't know why they wouldn't bring that bill forward. If there's something else going on here, I couldn't tell you what it is.
Wow.
So,
What do you think it is, Andy?
I don't know.
It's a mystery right now. It's
Capital mystery.
there's enough of those up here.
I mean, I would say I think it makes the probability of a stadium bill passing quite a bit lower. if
Goodness sakes, another year.
They
Right?
can't- Well, they can't get a
I don't know if I
floor
can take
vote.
it.
Yeah, well, Ziggy Wolf might offer up the team to somebody else. Didn't Roger Goodell come in town and beat some people up about?
Well, that's the thing. It seemed like that had kind of kick-started this thing and really gotten some, it had appeared kind of dead before that.
Right.
And then
when it
Goodell
got voted
comes
down
to
in that
town, and
committee.
all of a sudden, it's clearing committee after committee, and it seemed to have a lot of momentum. But every time you start to dig into the details on this thing, everybody
Yeah.
seems to get the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, things don't quite add up, right?
Right. It's like
What the heck's going on?
The fine print always seems to kind of shipwreck things.
Well, and there's politics behind it, obviously, right? There always is, yeah.
I mean, absolutely. I don't know if you saw there was some polling data that came out about who would be to blame if the Republicans leave town, and it's not. The numbers aren't good for the Republican legislative caucuses, I'm afraid.
Or the governor, for that matter.
Well,
right?
I think a lot fewer. I can't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but I think a lot fewer people would blame Dayton than.
Well, he's trying to push it forward. He wants to get it done. He doesn't want to be the governor that lost the Vikes.
I
Right?
think, it's one of those issues where if you do straight polling on should public dollars be spent on stadiums, people say no. But I think
Yeah.
they also appreciate taking a forthright and clear stance on the issue.
Right.
And Dayton has done that, from whether you agree with him or not. He has, been unwavering in his support for this and how he thinks it should be done. You see Speaker Zeller's kind of like, I'm not sure if I'm for it. I got to see how the bill ultimately comes out. And I think, maybe there's a perceived lack of leadership on the issue there.
All right. Well, let's look back at the session. What's been accomplished?
Well,
Just leave the finger pointing out to start with, because we know there's been a lot of that accomplished, right?
yeah, I mean, there's been some little things. I mean, I think, they'll point to some permitting reform that kind of built on what happened last legislative session in terms of getting permits through PCA.
Reform 2.0
in
stuff,
150 days. Yeah, I think that, they have a bill that kind of built on that. You have, I'm trying to think now. Well, I think you got a game and fish bill that Dayton's going to sign that raises some hunting and fishing fees that are important in paying for some outdoors projects.
Voter ID, you got that on? if
Yes,
you're-
you're going to have voter ID on the ballot, of course, so that's going to be a big fight going forward. You get some minor education policy stuff, but I mean, I don't think there's a huge list of stuff, and that's going to be the interesting, if they get out of here without a bonding bill, a stadium bill, or a taxes bill enacted, Democrats are salivating to kind of tag the Republicans with this do-nothing legislature. They've already been trotting that out at press conferences, so it's, is that going to be an effective
So do you
criticism?
foresee some hardcore deal making here in the next couple days?
I find it hard to see. I find it hard to see how that happens. The events of today on the stadium, the fact that the House and the Senate went forward with votes on the taxes bill, basically ignoring Dayton had made kind of a counteroffer.
Yeah.
Basically ignored that, went forward with the votes. That combined with scrapping everything that had been done on the stadium for this somewhat novel proposal, it's hard to see
Yeah.
where you have any kind of big grand bargain to end the session.
Well, how does this affect the elections and what election year politics that you think will? So I know you said the DFL would be salivating, but what other where does this shake out for the voters in November?
I mean, I guess that's the question. Does that do-nothing legislature tag stick? Is it effective? I think, Republicans are going to run on, we came in facing a $5 billion budget deficit. We held the line on spending. By doing that, we helped turn around the budget situation, and we're now looking at, a surplus for the first time in a long time. So I assume those will be kind of the competing storylines heading into November. So, I'm not fool enough to predict how that
No, we wouldn't box
come
it
out, but it'll be interesting.
Do you see any big, I don't know if you've been paying attention to this, but big interesting races? I mean, I know there's been a lot of retirements announced and with the redistricting.
Yeah, I mean, I would say two things. You had 60 freshmen in this class, a huge class of freshmen. With redistricting and everyone up for re-election, you're going to have another huge freshman class next year. There's no doubt about it. So
You're going to have a lot of inexperience.
You're going to have a very green legislature. So that's interesting. And then you have some interesting endorsement battles that are going on the GOP side of the aisle. You had Mike Beard, who survived a 12 ballot endorsement fight a couple weekends ago primarily over an issue that is hardly on most people's radar screens, which is judicial elections. He's the chief author of a bill that would institute retention elections. And a lot of GOP activists don't like that at all. You've got Senator Ortman, who's playing a very key role and was front and center at this press conference on the Viking Stadium today. She's facing two endorsement challengers in her district down in Chanhassen, Carver County. One who's kind of a Ron Paul affiliated Republican, and the other I don't know much about. So
these aren't really Tea Party activists coming out.
Well, I think it's, I'm not clear in my mind exactly where you draw the line between Tea Party folks and kind of the Ron Paul folks. They definitely come from a fairly similar ideological
libertarian
stance.
sort of, yeah.
But it might not be. There might be some separation there.
Yeah.
So.
Sure. Okay. Well, thanks, Paul, for bringing us up to speed.
Thanks for having me.
Do we stick around for another 5 days, or are we going to be out early? Any chance?
I'm going to New Orleans tomorrow, so I'm not going to
So
be here.
see you later.
How do you
Paul's
get out
out.
of the end of the session?
I took them at their word,
Yeah, is you
I'll be at Jazz Fest. so-
politician? You trusted their word. Okay.
Who are you going to see?
Oh, tons of stuff. Nick Lowe, I'm looking forward to. So.
Good. Well, much deserved break. And then
Thank
when you
you.
get back, you will be full on election.
Yeah,
coverage.
probably.
Yeah. Right.
So.
All right. Well, thank you to Representative Morrow and Senator Chamberlain for joining us earlier. Of course, thank you to Paul Demko from Politics in Minnesota for paying us a visit. We had production assistance tonight from Susan Miracle and Connor Malloy. Our producers are Catherine Loudenslager and Matt Ealing. Capital Conversations is produced in association with KFAI Radio News and Public Record Media. You can view all of our episodes anytime you want at mncapitalnews.com. And Andy, it's been a somewhat strange year up here, hasn't it? Don't you
I
think?
thought you were going to say it was great. It was great. It's been a great session working with you.
Yeah, well, with you too.
It's strange too.
I mean,
Yeah,
just
no,
the
it's-
goings on. It seemed.
Well, I don't know. I
We
felt
expected
like
more.
we talked about the same things week after week. Yeah,
Yeah.
because we're always waiting for the big,
Yeah.
I don't know,
What would
action.
you say was the biggest issue up this year?
Well, Vikings, I guess.
Yeah,
Or
I mean,
no,
that's
voter
what-
ID for the early
Voter ID,
part
I
of the.
guess. Voter
yeah.
ID and Vikings were probably the big
Yeah.
things this year.
Trying to think what
Well,
else to talk
we plan to wrap up the legislative session by having a wrap-up show. Stay tuned for that. We'll announce the date on the website and let viewers know when that will be. But we'll be not on the air next Tuesday in our usual slot. We'll be planning our closing show. For Andy Friedel, I'm Marty Owings, and we'll see you at the Capitol.
Good night. Thanks for watching.